Welcome to another Starbridge Mom video. This video is all about eclipses. So there's a few coming up. I figured I would go live and let you know what is an eclipse and what does it mean for you. So there are two types of eclipses. There are solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, and there's a third one if you include total eclipse of the heart. You 80s music fans get me. So eclipses happen every year, usually 4 to 6 times a year. Astrologers call it eclipse season when they roll around. So solar and lunar eclipses are pretty similar in the energy that they bring. However, many will say that solar eclipses bring about more luck and opportunities, where lunar eclipses teach us more about how to let go and surrender and do that inner journey into the shadow and do that dark side of our spiritual work. But from what I've learned, and in my opinion, eclipses work with your inner energy. Whatever is going on internally is reflected outwardly. Whatever you have to be worked on, where you need to be supported to make changes, that's how the eclipse is going to work with you, and it can go either way. And you're going to understand a little bit more why as we go through this video. So with that said, what is the energy of an eclipse actually like? So good. And it's cacao and banana and blueberry. Okay. Here's a way to think of eclipses. They're kind of like Pluto. And if you're familiar with Pluto, Pluto's associated with drama and secrets, the hidden, those skeletons in the closet, transformation, alchemy, rising up from the ashes like a phoenix. Okay, so eclipses too have this type of energy, but they work faster than Pluto, thankfully. They feel more like a fast-moving wrecking ball that swings into our lives, and then we feel overwhelmed, okay? It feels like our world is torn down and our wounds are exposed. But in the end, the goal is truly to support transmuting pain and stepping into a new life, a better life that's less burdened from those shadows and dark things and wounds that you're carrying around, because that transformation takes place so that we can get in alignment with our highest good, with our highest timeline, our highest self. Pluto tends to take time when it comes to transformation, where thankfully eclipses work fast. It's kind of like ripping off a band-aid. So if that helps to understand. So the deal with eclipses, what does it actually mean for you? Life gets tossed around during an eclipse. The energy always feels a little bit more intense because it is. Eclipses bring a dose of change, and usually there's some surprising changes, things that you thought were going to happen that don't happen. Here's the thing to remember with eclipses: no matter what happens, you are always where you're meant to be by divine design. Seriously, I really mean that. We aren't going through the motions in life for no reason. We're here with a purpose and lessons to learn. So eclipses activate soul contracts in a way that supports you to take the next step, to turn the page, start a new chapter in your life and in your spiritual growth. Although when change happens, it's usually pretty uncomfortable and unsettling, sometimes even disoriented for a lot of people. We're creatures of habits as humans. We get set in our ways. We go along in our comfort zones. We're just doing the same old, same old. And then the universe comes in like a wrecking ball with the eclipse season, and bam, ready or not, decisions need to be made, actions need to be taken, and change happens. That can be really painful for a lot of us to get pushed outside of what's known and comfortable, and to have to face where we've been dragging our feet and procrastinating. Truly though, when we look at eclipses as a change maker that it is, you'll see that things that change, the things that are going to change in your life, probably really needed to be dealt with, and the timing's pretty inevitable by the time eclipses roll around. So if you've got something that you have been stuffing down, eclipse season's going to come around and be like, time to bring that to the surface and purge it, okay? Eclipses work really fast, like I was saying earlier. We tend to feel that energy within a couple of weeks of when happening, and then for some time afterwards. So solar and lunar eclipses light this fire under our asses, and sometimes can feel or really actually be quite dramatic. During eclipses, people tend to act out of sorts. They might act out of character. there's just seems to be more turmoil and unrest in the world or even in your personal life. Eclipses shake up patterns and they speed up the process to change the dynamics that are going on personally and globally. But eclipses get this bum rap, okay? And I really kind of want to take that stigma out of eclipses, just like Mercury retrogrades get a bad rap. Throughout history, they've been feared for bringing on catastrophes and bad behavior. Ancient cultures looked at eclipses as something to be feared because they thought the gods were angry. I mean, can you imagine in ancient civilizations when the sun is blocked out, it's like, you know, there's literally stories of ancient cultures saying that gods were angry and ate the sun. So anyhow, you know, maybe there's something to be said for eclipses and the energy that they bring into the world. Because it's true that during full moons, there's more violence and accidents and ER visits. It's even said that there's more babies that are born during full moons. We know moons are tied to seasons and tides and all that. And then when Mercury retrograde rolls around, we blame poor communication and technology snafus on Mercury retrograde. As for solar eclipses, I don't think they anger any gods, but they do bring change, and often change isn't always welcomed with open arms. So, however, you know, when we can see ourselves as cosmic surfers, because we are, then it might make it easier to ride the energy and even harness it for our highest good, for our highest timeline. It's really about perspective. Like everything in life, it's about perspective. We can anticipate the cosmic seasons and changes and do our best to play the game because it's a part of life. It's a part of the interaction and energetic exchange that's between the macrocosm and us, the microcosm. As above, so below. One of my favorite 80s songs, which there's so many of them, rings a bell right now. And I'm picking up on some 80s vibes lately and when I was writing this, and here's some of the lyrics. I know nothing stays the same, but if you're willing to play the game, you'll be coming around again. So we know that we get eclipse seasons a couple of times a year, just like we get Mercury retrogrades and other things that go on cosmically. So when we know that it's coming and we know how to play the game, okay, and nothing stays the same in life, then we have to just look at our perspective and how we're going to deal with that. So let's break down solar and lunar eclipses. Solar eclipses can occur when as either a full eclipse or a partial eclipse, and they only happen during a new moon. This means that the moon is wedged between the sun and the earth. It literally, like the moon blocks out the sun when there's a full solar eclipse. The sun and the moon are in the same zodiac when there's a new moon, when this happens. So that solar eclipse amps up the energy of the new moon phase, but also amps up the energy and the frequency of the zodiac sign that the sun and the moon are in at that time. When the sun is blocked out by the moon, it's a bit like being blocked out from our sense of purpose, our sense of reality, our sense of self. So during eclipses, most of us are walking around kind of like we're hungover, exhausted, lethargic, but we kind of have this jittery feeling, this anxiety, this nervous energy, like we've had too much coffee to cope with that hangover. And it's during this time that we face off with our shadow self, the dark side of our personality and behavior. Whatever is inside of you that isn't healed is going to be brought up to the surface for processing, purging, or therapy for that matter. You might try to run from whatever's going on inside yourself, from the hurt, the pain, the trauma, the resentment, the rejection, whatever other types of wounds that you're carrying. But truly, the eclipse is here to lighten that load. As much as you might not want to deal with it, and as much as it might hurt to look at that pain, this is why emotions run high during eclipse season. Tears flow more, rage ruptures, irrational behavior and reactions take over, ruminating on the past, fears and monsters from under the bed come out to play with our hearts and minds. Triggers are poked at, and for some, PTSD tends to be more difficult to deal with. So we can kind of understand why in ancient cultures, you know, these eclipses were feared, because people do act with bad behavior sometimes, or out of sorts and out of character. Eclipses call us up like Ghostface in the movie Scream, and when we say, who's there, we're confronted with asking who the fuck we really are. And then we're plunged into the darkness of our inner world to discover the answer to that. Solar eclipses have a way of leaving us feeling lost about who we are. I prefer not to look at what's happening astrologically in the cosmos or even personal revelations as being negative in any way. The universe really wants to support us. The divine wants to support us. God wants to support us to reach our potential, to be our best self. So sometimes in those moments we go a little mad and lose ourselves. We actually learn that we find something valuable. We learn more about our personal truths and we rediscover ourselves. And that can be a really beautiful thing too. And the darkness can provide a lot of insight. So darkness seems to be something that's feared in today's culture, today's society. But I want to tell you, don't fear the darkness. It adds depth to who you are by revealing answers to questions you might not have even known that you had. There's a lot of growth that happens in the darkness. Look at seeds right now. We're in the season of spring and how seeds are below the surface. It's dark, but they grow and they blossom, okay? There's this intense energy with eclipses, but when we choose to work with it and align ourselves with our highest potential, we get this opportunity to tap into that our highest timeline at a very accelerated pace during eclipse season. We can use this time to choose a new path, to go boldly onto paths that we might not have ever even imagined for ourselves. Eclipses force us to take off the blinders, to consider things that we wouldn't have considered before, to explore perspectives that we might not have been able to grasp before or understand. When we get past the shock or surprise that eclipses bring, we can start walking into a new, improved version of ourselves. So I want to tell you, don't let fear stop you from taking a leap and working with eclipse energy. We get in our way so much. And eclipses offer a time to start fresh. It's like the universe goes, okay, just move on out of the way. We're going to bring all this stuff up. You're going to deal with it. And then it's going to get better and you're going to be on your new path. Okay. So solar eclipses reveal these new paths, new patterns, new habits, new ideas, new possibilities. So I want you to have the courage to take risk during that time, during a solar eclipse. Lunar eclipses aren't much different in the way that they work in our lives, the energy that they bring. First, lunar eclipses happen when the moon is just about full. So this is the opposite of a solar eclipse, okay? Because solar eclipse is a new moon. A lunar eclipse is when the moon is just about full and it enters the shadow of the earth. Instead of the moon being between the sun and the earth, it's now the earth between the sun and the moon. So at that time, the sun and the moon will be in opposite signs of each other. During a lunar eclipse, we can see the full moon turn colors sometimes. It might be red or brown, but just as solar eclipses, it truly depends on where you're at. If you're going to be able to see a solar or a lunar eclipse, regardless if you see it, you're going to feel it, okay? Lunar eclipses support us to just let go, to make room for the things that we need to do so that we can grow and evolve. Lunar eclipses often signify the end of a cycle of emotions. It offers the opportunity to just go with the flow and transform our emotional state. During lunar eclipses, we still deal with the shadow self, maybe even more than during a solar eclipse. We face the things that are tough to admit to, our secrets, our drama, our pain, our trapped emotions, jealousy, insecurities, anger, sadness, grief. During lunar eclipses, we can't go on only accepting the lighter side of who we are or the our representative self. We have to deal with what's going on internally, and those feelings that you've stuffed down, they creep up and they overwhelm at eclipse season. A lot of people are overwhelmed by their emotions during this time, and if we can just learn to accept the duality of good and bad and right and wrong and stop judging our feelings and judging others so harshly for being human and having a huge range of emotions, then it's at that point that we can embrace the complete package of who we are. And we step into these powerful moments of discovery, self-discovery, and we evolve, we grow, we learn to love ourselves for who we really are. Solar or lunar eclipses work as catalysts. If we stay open, we can navigate through the cosmic tides with more ease and cross the threshold into a life that has more love, happiness, and peace. It's when we choose to not do the work, to not let go, to keep hoarding pain and hoarding our trauma. It's then that we suffer. Eclipses aren't inherently bad. They're really here to help, guide, and support us, even if it feels like a bit of tough love. And a spotlight shining on our inner world, a spotlight shining on our wounds. Eclipses are here to get us to shift into harmony and align with our truths. So stay present during eclipse season. Allow God to work in you and through you. Be ready for the unexpected. Be ready to process emotions and trust in the process of surrendering and letting go. On the other side of the eclipse is this glowing, high vibe life full of potential and joy and your highest levels of divine expression. And to end this on an 80s music vibe, I would say eclipses see our true colors. And the universe really does love us. God does love us. And our true colors are beautiful like a rainbow. So I nominate Cyndi Lauper's song, True Colors, as the eclipse season theme song. All right, guys, let me know what you think in the comments about eclipses and your experiences with eclipses. Go ahead and check out starbridgemom.com if you would like to do any type of astrology reports with me. I would be happy to work with you. See you in the next video.